Next weekend, the city of New Bedford is honored to host the U.S. Coast Guard tall ship Eagle. It's arriving in New Bedford on Friday, the 10th, and will stay through Monday morning, 10 a.m., before leaving. Here to talk about the Eagle and its stay in the whaling city is Coast Guard Auxiliary spokesperson Linda Meredith and Marine Safety Officer Jeff Santos. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
See you again, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Well, if you haven't seen this magnificent tall ship, and it really is magnificent, you're really missing something, first off. And it does have an interesting history. It's not always been a U.S. boat, right, Jeff?
No, that's a good point. Not many people realize that Eagle is actually something that's been around for a long time, commissioned in 1936 in Germany. It was actually a training vessel for the German Navy. It was called the Horst vessel, and this was something that we were able to acquire after World War II. Another fun fact about the Eagle is that people in this area, of course, the Portuguese training ship Sagres is its sister ship.
Right. And the Sagres has been here, I don't know.
Many times.
The Eagle's been here. Last time, Linda, last time was
2011, 7 years ago.
I think the Sagres was here, I don't know, 12 or 13. And yeah, they are a lot alike. I mean, white hull, the whole thing.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful vessels. But the Eagle is really a training vessel, and I guess you figure, I guess the Coast Guard figures, if you can maneuver around the Eagle, you can maneuver around a Coast Guard cutter.
Yes, that's a very good point, Jim. Yeah, a lot of the basics of navigation, handling of a ship, line handling, all that takes to run a ship. Yes, the cadets who are going to become officers in the Coast Guard, they get their training there at sea and they learn quite a bit. So yes, they can become leaders in the Coast Guard and command Coast Guard cutters, even Coast Guard stations and other command units that they are going to have their leadership skills tested as time goes on in their career. But that's where they start, absolutely.
The schedule, when they arrive, what time, and some of the activities. Linda, tell us about that.
Okay, well, they are going to be docked on Friday at State Pier, and they will be open for tours on that day from 1 to 4 p.m. And then on Saturday, they'll be open for tours from 10 till 7 p.m. and on Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m.
So there'll be a lot of public access to this
Absolutely.
vessel. That's
Yeah.
something. Now, there's something different happening with the cadets. Apparently, a new crew of cadets is coming in on Sunday. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the current cadets are ending their tour, so to speak, and there's about 114 cadets on board, and we were advised that there is a whole new crew coming on board to enter at New Bedford.
All right, that should be fun. Monday
Yes.
morning?
Yeah, actually Sunday morning.
Sunday
right?
morning,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so the public is welcome to come down and just see what takes place in regards to that. It'll be before the tours start, I believe, right,
Yeah, I
on
would think so,
Sunday.
yeah.
So before, if they want to come by and see some little activity prior to the tours, take a look at that. That'll be interesting.
And is there any other events planned while they're here, Linda? in
Yes,
terms of-
actually, there's a big event with the Coast Guard Band. On Saturday, they're going to be doing what they call pop-up concerts throughout New Bedford, and it's at various times. I guess the band members will be walking around and all of a sudden start to play. But in the evening, the Town Hall steps of Fairhaven are going to host them, and the band is going to play on Saturday evening.
Wow, and that is free.
That is free.
What time is that?
That's at 6 p.m. I would recommend people start coming,
Yeah.
and they're going to start at 7.
All right, so it's get there if you want a good location.
That's it. Yep, bring a chair. We block off Center Street, and you can arrange your chairs in the street or on the lawns, the town hall lawn or the library lawn, or bring blankets. That's also a easy way to come and enjoy.
What's the magic of these tall ships? In 2000, we all got a hefty look at tall ships. They were in New York Harbor, and For the next few years after that, we saw on a fairly regular basis tall ships coming in from other countries, from our country. The Eagle, Sagres, Eagle and Sagres have been fairly regular visitors to our area. What's the magic of this? Why do people love them so much?
Well, it's the majestic thoughts of sailing out at sea on these huge vessels with the winds blowing into the sails, and as you see sometimes in the movies, the old tall schooners and stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of training involved, but it's hugely popular. Evident last year in Boston, Sail Boston last year, was a huge, I believe it was last year or the year before, was a huge event where Eagle participated also, because Eagle is America's tall ship. So we've been fortunate in New Bedford over the many years to have not just Eagle, Sagres, but a lot of other tall ships who have visited this port. So yes, and they all bring in visitors to take a look at that, because the masts are so high, and especially the youngsters, they look at it and say, "This, it's huge, it's huge." So there's a lot of lure that people like about tall ships. So yeah, we're fortunate in that aspect, absolutely.
And Linda, you've been working with the city officials. Obviously, folks are very anxious to make this come about because they know it's a wonderful thing. It's free, and so you can't get any complaints there. It doesn't collide with any other events, and so it's really a spectacle.
It will be.
Yeah.
And also, not only the Coast Guard Auxiliary, but a number of organizations that are associated with the Coast Guard Academy will have information booths and tents at while the tours are going on.
Sure.
So there's plenty of information to be handed out, and anyone who's interested in attending Academy will have somebody to talk to directly about how to apply.
And of course, if you don't know, the first Coast Guard Academy was here in New Bedford, and it is. You want to tell me something?
Absolutely,
about
I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. People don't realize that this actually has an incredible history in New Bedford Harbor for Coast Guard going back many years. So that actually the first Coast Guard Academy, which was actually called the School of Instruction of the Revenue Cutter Service, and it was actually held aboard a schooner by the name the Dobbin, and that's where it was a small class, just had like maybe 10 or 12 cadets aboard, and that's where it evolved. And as time went on, things changed, and of course they became the Academy, moved down to New London, Connecticut. But yes, it started here in New Bedford. That is true.
My guest on Townsquare Sunday, Jeff Santos, the Marine Safety Officer of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and Linda Meredith, the Public Affairs Officer. Linda, what is the Coast Guard Auxiliary, first off? For folks who don't know, might not have any idea.
We are actually volunteers that are associated with the Coast Guard. So we can do any of the missions of the Coast Guard except law enforcement. Many of us are involved in talking about boating safety. That's my job as public affairs. So I'm at a lot of different events with a tent and a lot of material and talking to people about being safe on the water. The other areas that we cover, we have folks that actually go out and do missions. We've had some of our members that manned one of the Coast Guard stations while the crew was off doing something else. We've done search and rescue. So it's pretty much everything that the Coast Guard can do.
And you've done safety training.
Yes.
That's what you do in the springtime, a lot of that here.
Yeah, it will actually be offering some classes this fall. It's called boating skills and seamanship is one of them, and that's going to begin on September 10th and run through December 17th. And it's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and it will be held at the ARSBC, the Coast Guard Auxiliary Building.
Now, of course, these are voluntary.
Yes.
And
there is a charge. That charge is only for the book,
okay,
which is about $45.
Now there is, as Jeff was here last year, and we talked about how people think they can, run a boat, sail a boat with no training, and that, of course, is a real mistake. But for those of you who've been out there this summer and think you're not quite so confident after a summer on the water, you might want to take advantage of these classes to sharpen your skills for next summer, because obviously tragedy is what we want to avoid here in and around the South Coast. What's the best place to view the eagle coming in? Do you guys ever thought about that?
I would think probably on the dike.
A hurricane barrier,
that
sure.
would be one of the best ones. We believe that the eagle will be docked prior to coming in, just off of West Island. So it's possible you would get a good view from the town beach.
All right.
But those would be my suggestions for getting up close.
And so along the hurricane barrier, obviously there at the State Pier, you'll see the vessel come through the hurricane barrier, and clearly, of course, what time again is the arrival? 10?
10.
10
Yes,
o'clock.
time's up at 10 o'clock at
So,
State Pier.
We're at the whim of the weather here and all of that. They shoot for 10. Could be later.
Could be later.
Well, I will say this, the commanding officer, the captain, they want to be pretty punctual on their schedules. Because of all, as Linda had mentioned, in regards to the itinerary taking place for the whole weekend, they want to make sure that they do, because what's going to be happening is that there have been some invited guests who've going to be on board Eagle. They have to be brought from the shore out to the Eagle early in the morning, so that's got to be taken care of and be punctual with that. So then they arrive and so forth. And there's a lot of things that is going to be taking place on Eagle in addition to the public tour. So I would say that, yeah, they would like to make sure they're at dock at 10 o'clock. And it's very interesting in regards to the viewing that, yes, the hurricane barrier on both sides, Fort Phoenix, go out to by Fort Tabor, on that area, and you can see Eagle coming in. But like Linda said, though, I think they are going to dock overnight, though, off of West Island.
That's what we heard.
So, but they'll come in through the harbor. Maybe it's a good spectacle. There'll be other boats out there that'll be accompanying Eagle too. So it's very, and hopefully the weather will cooperate too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, because it is quite a sight to see the tall ship come into the harbor, into the inner harbor, and hopefully we see it. I don't know about sails up, because it just may not work that way. But
not coming through the deck. We do know that the cannons at Fort Phoenix are going to fire as a salute as it comes through.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And any formal events for elected officials or other officials on board the?
I think there's a couple. I mean, we're not real privy because we're not invited, of course. We're not the VIPs. But yes, they do. I guess there's going to be a VIP tour that's going to take place 10:30 on Friday, and then I think there's a reception in the evening aboard Eagle, the Coast Guard Foundation, which is an organization to raise money to help Coast Guard members and their families. Point of information, the Coast Guard Foundation, one of their former leaders, we know in this area, former head of the Whaling Museum, Ann Brengle, used to be head of the Coast Guard Foundation. So, wonderful organization. They're going to have a reception at 6 o'clock on Friday. And as far as on Saturday, I don't think I have anything further. So it looks like that's what we have, anything like formal, if you will, be on that evening.
And Linda, where can people go to learn more about the stay of the Eagle, times, all of that stuff?
I believe that the auxiliary website has information. Hopefully we do have a video that will be shown along with that. We'll try and get, I have information that was sent to Phil, so the radio station should have all of this information, dates and times and that kind of thing.
Very good. Okay. My thanks to Jeff Santos and Linda Meredith of the Coast Guard Auxiliary for their information about the upcoming visit of the tall ship Eagle, August 10th, Friday, August 10th, 10 a.m. Through the hurricane barrier. And the vessel will stay here through Monday morning at 10 a.m., which is a little bit longer than the initial projection was, I think, right? Talked about 2 days.
Yeah, and
Now
4
it's,
is nice.
Now it's 4. That's great.
That is.
So, Linda and Jeff, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks.
That's it for Town Square Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you as well to production director Jason Ken and digital editor Casey Sylvia for their help as well. I'm Jim Phillips. Join us next Sunday at 6 a.m. for Town Square Sunday. Until then, have a great week and a wonderful Sunday. Okay.
All right, Jim. Very good. Thank you.
Linda, do you have a